Hi, this is Alexandra with Family Frith, and I'm wishing your family lots of Frith. And with me today, I've got a very special guest, Nancy Hunter. And this is somebody that, or I should actually just say her full name because I love it, Nancy Cosentino Hunter. Or if I said it, Annunziata Cosentino Hunter. I don't know if I said that right, but she's a dear friend of mine. We've known each other for a very long time. We worked together a lot as well. And I've got her on today to discuss her work really because we have a crossover with our work. We both have worked together and we've helped each other out, and we've also passed clients to each other. So that's what I've got her on the show today to talk about herself really and the work within or how her work can help people in family courts. So welcome to the show, Nancy.
Hello, Alexander. I feel
Hello.
excited to be here and honored to be here.
It's so nice. You're always in somewhat exotic location. You do so much traveling. I love it. Thank you.
This currently place is called, I gotta pronounce it right, Fornica in Bosnia.
Where they fornicate. Fornica.
It's where the water does, the thermal waters.
Ah, nice. Beautiful. I'm going to have to
Yes,
come and visit you.
it's really pretty here. Very calming
Well, thank you
place.
for taking some time out for from your holiday for this chat. And I just wanted to ask you, about your work. Could you like explain for somebody that doesn't know you, what it is that you help people in?
I love to support people to come back to their dream state, their imagining. I love people to come back to what's actually, and I believe is the real state of consciousness that we are. And that is our internal state, which is constantly creating our external states. So our experiences that we're having are real, but the actual realities that we see are created by our beliefs, thoughts, constant dwelling, thought forms, states of consciousness, collective consciousness. So I love helping people to dream differently, to think differently, to change the way they're perceiving the current present moment, to learn how to see it differently, to
Well,
create a different possibility.
that's a big deal for that's what you're saying quite a lot of things there. You're talking about changing somebody's reality or somebody being able to change their own reality and to be focusing on their state of consciousness, which is their focus, right? Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, yeah. Or it's not just their focus, their state of consciousness is what they're feeling unconsciously as well.
Okay. So is it your job to bring to recognize in them what they're feeling they might not be aware of and bring that to the surface and get them to have a more awareness around that or investigate how they're feeling that they might not be aware of that? Is that part of your work?
Yeah, absolutely. Firstly, they might not be aware of it. So it's opening up the peephole of the golden door, really, of information within someone's soul and turning that key, the right key, so it opens, it fits and opens, and it opens to a state of thoughts or beliefs or not, or maybe not even noticing that this is the thought forms that have been happening for you based on the people you're that are the people that are informing you.
So it's like really picking it all apart and seeing the structure of what's making your reality and then analyzing that to change it, to find ways of changing it. And from what I hear, what you're saying, I mean, I've worked with
Yeah.
them, so I know firsthand, but we're talking about, manifestation, law of attraction, and you always speak about
Mm,
and all the laws, and I don't know, I can't
mm,
name them, but you work with
mm,
many different laws. Uh,
mm.
do you want to just mention those as well?
Yeah, I think my favorite laws that which is the law of assumption, and these laws, I mean, because you got all the different laws, you got law of attraction, but before the law of attraction, it's about your energy and your state of consciousness and what your vibration or what you're feeling about what you're seeing in that moment. So, and with the law, with like law of attractions about, bringing your vibration higher, which comes from, lots of teachings from um, Hicks, Esther and Jerry Hicks. But I like those laws too because it's all about it's acknowledging where you are, but also lifting your energy. Um, and at the same time, the law of assumption, which comes from Neville Goddard's laws, and these are earlier teachers in the early 19th century, and they basically talk about that creation is finished, so that your dream state that you're dreaming and dwelling in is the real, like the real dream end result. So but what you're seeing constantly outside of you is what you've projected from your beliefs. So if you're always analyze giving power to that, whereas the law of assumption is that you're already in the end result. And so the what you're seeing in front of you is the lag, but most people get caught in their lag and the present moment.
Yeah, I mean, what you're saying is so difficult for people to comprehend. I know personally, having worked with the laws, and that this was in our earlier friendship when we first met, and I
Mm,
was going through family courts,
mm,
doing the actual work and seeing or taking ownership of my reality and having been I wouldn't say like fully created it, but that is full accountability. But there's a sort of co-creation with all of the actors involved in family courts.
mm,
That it's such a hard one to grasp and acknowledge for people to go, "What, this is my fault? Are you saying this is my fault?" Or
mhm.
my ex or this person that's angry with me, the reason why I've come here, I created that. It's such a hard pill to swallow. And that is,
Mm.
do you find that that's the very first fundamental that they have to get over that hurdle to be at least willing to see what it means to accept full responsibility for that? Like, is that a hurdle
Yeah.
for clients?
Well, the thing is that those words you're saying for responsibility, that's the law of attraction talks about that a lot, and that's why that's a hard pill to swallow. But if you don't look at it like that, that's the point. See, the responsibility, when we say it's our responsibility, then we're almost casting blame on self,
Right,
where it's not even about that. It's the unconscious creation of what we've created,
right.
which we're all innocent in that. If we're all sovereign and we're all free within our soul, then because we're our dwelling and our belief systems from whatever we're known have created this thing unknowingly to us. So therefore and that, and yes, what you said, it is right. Most people then blame themselves, goes, I didn't call to get this, I didn't call to get that, I didn't call to get that.
Mm.
And yet, but when you look at the perfection of all of it, because when you start to realize, well, if even because in this law of assumption, it says to acknowledge how you're feeling, it says to acknowledge what you're seeing, but what you when you go deeper into the teachings, you're actually understanding the bigger picture, the bridge from there to the end result. And the end result has to have more power than what you're seeing in your present. Because if we go into that responsibility, then what we're doing is we keep on dwelling in that energy. And
Mhm.
so, therefore, whatever, if you're in court or you're in prosecution of self or judgment or criticism or condemnation, energetically, we're having a war with ourselves.
Yeah. That,
And that's what creates this whole I want to say
yeah,
menagerie
intensity. Yeah.
intensity in our bodies. And you and I both know, because we've worked through so much of this,
Mm.
how that can be for someone, And I have to say, knowing you, you have a very strong understanding and resilience and love that takes you through with that resilience and this want to keep on wanting the best for yourself and your family, So that, and that's how I feel too. I always want the best for myself and people.
Yeah.
I want,
It's a process,
they,
isn't it? It's not like an
yes,
end result because it just continues. And so we're
yes,
always presented with a new challenge. And it's about sort of recreating what you were saying earlier, the words that you used was reimagining
yes,
something that could be better from this reality that we've been presented. So we're co-creating with our reality all the time rather than,
yes,
oh, this is, this is shit, this is crap, and
yes,
going into that cycle of complaint or blaming. And so we
yes,
suddenly are free. And it's a freedom in that, isn't there? It's a freedom to
yes,
realize that there's another reality that we can step
yes.
into.
Yes, and people go, but this is what's happening, this is what's happening. And because I know it, because I've been there.
Yeah. Yeah, so okay, so that's a great thing for you to say. So that I was going to ask you, without, naming any names or giving any specifics, can you talk a little bit about how you've helped somebody going through a family court process and specifically what they were struggling with and what you have helped people to get through?
Okay. Well, I just recently helped someone go through courts, who was, I won't name names, but who was recently, they were told they did such and such. And
Accused of crimes, essentially.
yeah, accused of crimes. Yeah. And I instantly knew from an energetic level what was happening. Because this person had told me a bit of their background. And so what was coming up? So why these lessons, I call them, choose us, or we choose them for us to grow. And the thing is, first thing I said to him is that you're innocent. You're innocent. What you've been accused on, from what he was telling me and what I was reading, was not the truth. It was based on a truth of someone else that was hurt, and he's hurt from when he's child. Both of his child's hurt.
You mean
That
the inner child or our past
yes, their
child?
child. What happened to them? No, not just the inner child, but what happened to them as children
Right, okay.
comes up like it's happening now
Mm.
when that pain has not been healed or understood. And so therefore they're fighting for their side to be right, or
Yes.
to blame for their pain,
Yes,
you
so they're
know?
fully engaged in that adversarial process of wanting to prove their innocence, that I haven't done anything wrong and you have to believe
Yes,
me. And so, but that's part of being involved in that sort of boxing game, that back and forth, which is a sort of loop.
yes, yes. And that, his innocence and the other person's innocence is,
Yes,
you know,
that's a really big one, Nancy, what you just said. Let's underline that.
yes,
The other person is also innocent. Yeah.
yeah, because they just acting from that place of pain and believing that what this person did was this, but because of anger, putting another amount of energy in there.
That's a really hard, I'm just going to press pause on what you've said because it's so
Mm,
important. It's another hard pill to swallow. If you have been um,
yeah.
a victim or you've recognized that there's been some sort of abusive patterns happening,
Mm,
and then society wants you to identify as a victim of abuse, and
mm,
then by donning by donning that personality or that identity, you're then able
mm,
to access charities that help, abused women
Yes.
or men, and then there's a whole sort of system in place to help the victim.
Yes.
But then it's really hard for a victim to
Yes.
see their aggressor also as a victim of their own
Yes.
action. Can you talk a little bit
Yes.
about that? Like why it's so hard for someone to free the other person?
Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah. So, I guess, when you're in, when you're, when, and I fully acknowledge anyone that's been through any sort of physical pain from somebody else or even killed or hurt. I understand that fully because I have been through a lot of it myself. And to forgive someone is the hardest thing, especially when you're in a victim mind. How can you forgive someone that's done something so terrible to yourself or someone close to you, you know? And but because of the way we have condemnation, which has created a victim mind consciousness, that person also was acting maybe from a state of consciousness that was completely emotionally distraught or had no feeling or had so much rage. And I've seen that all in front of me growing up. So I understand the full power and thrust of that. And it's like you see that energy and you're like, how can you forgive that? But you can,
Yeah,
because
so
you can,
go on.
yeah, you can because, and it's not instant, it takes time. And for some people, it never happens.
Yeah, but I have to say that when I hear you say that you've also been through it, you can appreciate a victim mentality and
Yeah,
consciousness because you yourself have lived it, physical,
yeah,
what we'd call abuse, and that's not we're not denouncing that there are behaviors that we don't condone
yeah,
and not,
yes,
etc.
yes.
But it's powerful because when people like yourself have actually not just forgiven, but transformed those relationships in their lives from childhood or from the present moment. It's so inspiring. When I've worked with you in my personal life, if I may speak to that, that's part of the weight of what you bring to your
Mhm.
sessions because it would be so easy for somebody to say, yeah, but you don't understand. You have no idea what I've been through. And having personally known as your friend, knowing your stories, you can't ever say that to Nancy because she can say, "Oh, yes, I know exactly." And and then that is it's not just sort of empathic. But
Mm.
what there is to say, but that's still not an excuse to get stuck in that
No.
of blame. And so without giving away your like strategies and tools, because you've
Mm.
done so much
Mm.
development, like on your whole, your whole career is just filled with so many amazing techniques and strategies. So without giving away too much of your cards, uh, can you maybe describe to somebody, give them an inkling how, you just said yourself, how does somebody forgive? How do you begin with somebody who's going, how can I forgive that? How can I even begin to forgive that? I don't even know if I want to. How do you
Yeah,
work with someone like that when they've come to you for help?
yeah. Well, at first, when I heard about forgiveness, to be honest, I was like, what the H are they talking about? Like, I had so much rage and anger in me. You know, I made dragons look fun. And they are fun, though, they're beautiful creatures. But, the way they've been portrayed, but that's another story. And so I think, then I saw something in that. I thought, why did that make me feel so angry?
Right. So you were questioning.
Just that,
Okay.
just that very thought of forgiving someone. How could that make like it? that made my 0 to 10, because I had the same as my father,
Yeah.
just
Just like,
no,
oh, we're talking about the scale.
0 to 10 in seconds.
Oh, with like
So
blowing
six,
your feet.
yes,
Yeah. Okay.
yeah, the dragon, you
Yeah.
know,
Fire
and
breathing.
and you're like, okay, so why is that? And they're not angry at me. They're just saying something. And why is that making me so angry?
Okay, so wait, so I'm just going to break it down. So first of all, when someone is willing to say, well, how can I forgive? So then you
Yeah,
begin by asking another question, well, why? Why has
yeah,
that triggered that in you of what you're feeling there, that resistance? Is that the first step to their journey?
yeah, basically. And then it was like, and then I met someone said, oh, well, you don't need to forgive. You haven't done anything wrong. And there's two sides of that, because part of me depends on which spiritual teachings you want to, because, there's different teachings around forgiveness. But I believe in ultimately that forgiveness is about moving and releasing the energy within you. So the fact that I had to ask, why would I forgive, and how to forgive, and what does that even feel like in the body? And why, when someone said to forgive, it made me feel so angry, like the person that I hated were hurting me with that much anger.
Yeah, yeah, it's a continued sort of torment, isn't it? Even though you might be the other side of the world from someone, you might never speak to them, they might be out of your life, but still the
Yeah,
memories or just the mention of a name might trigger you. And so they're still,
yes,
or your thoughts about them are controlling you. So that's
yes,
another level of realizing that that person's not even done anything in this present moment,
yes,
but you're still caught up and that's controlling you. You're still in that loop. So then I suppose you're asking people like, do you want to be free? Do you want to be free of that? And forgiveness is actually the journey. And so I'm assuming
yes,
that they go on that journey with you if
yes.
they're like, yeah, I'm done with it. I don't want this running my life every day and waking up.
Basically, yeah. And it's like, for deep forgiveness, like, I'm sorry, the one I love, there's all, and you can use it in so many ways. Like, I'm sorry, please forgive me, I love you, thank you, with the Ho'oponopono. Or, may I use like, everything that God, source, spirit, creator gives to me, I want for you. Because what it is, and the end of the day, is if you're creating another reality, you can't create another reality caught in that same unfreedom of that energy.
You have to shift it in order to, because you're right at the beginning of this
Yes,
chat, you were
yes,
saying that your one of your jobs is to help people identify that they've got these undercurrent feelings they might not
yes,
even be aware of that's running their show. So if bad things are
yes,
happening to them or things keep showing
yes,
up for them, it's because they've got unresolved stuff that they've just not wanted to go to. So you're
yes,
kind of going, it's shadow work. There's another thing.
yes,
It's called lots of things, but you're doing a big sort of clutter clear and getting rid
yes,
of not just getting rid of it, but making peace with things and releasing
yes,
it in a beautiful way. And I guess I'm
yes.
summarizing now because we're just running out of time for this.
Okay.
But we've talked about so much in this short space of time. It's been like half an hour. And so just to wrap it up for now, but if you would be willing to come back and do more chats because it's a really in-depth process. It's there's a lot in it to unpack. And I think today we
Yes,
talked about, oh God, we've talked about victim mentality, being
mm,
caught in blame and anger. We talked about the system and how they need us to identify in a certain way. We've talked about your works, but
mm.
there's lots more as well that could be. I know that there's a whole world. So would you, if it would be great if you could come back and we could
Yeah,
chat, would you be
because
willing? I don't know where you're going to be in the world at that time, but
but the thing is, the biggest part of it, because that's when we talked about the laws, you have to understand that stuff. You don't have to be playing in it all the time, the shadow or that stuff. It's
right.
acknowledging it, because the biggest stuff is the dreaming, is the fun, it's the playing, and the
Yeah.
game of life that you want to create. For me, it's a loving service for people and how they can have fun on this beautiful Eden garden of life,
I'm
this
so
earth.
glad you said that as well, Nancy, because that is something that you bring because when someone's in it and they've got anxiety and tension knots in their body and they're waking up in that depressed state, and they're really struggling with and it's physically affecting them. One of the beautiful things that I know that
Mm,
you work with and the people that I know that have had sessions with you have reported back is
mm,
the this suddenly this freedom and relief because you're saying, okay, great,
yeah.
you've acknowledged all that, you've worked on all that, but don't get stuck there. Now let's
Mm,
create, that.
yes.
And when you say joyful, actually, this is a great time to plug. So could you just tell everybody your website as well?
My website is Wildly Joyful Life,
And
where
that
you'll
is the
find
top
your inner
line.
light.
That's it. If you were going to describe Nancy, that's the top line of her work. Wildly joyful life, because that's actually what everybody wants,
Yeah.
especially when you're going through family court and it seems so far removed. But
Mm.
you definitely help people bring that into their awareness and that's actually a reality that they can have.
Yeah, it's a play, and it doesn't matter your circumstances because you have this brilliant imaginal feeling of being able to feel and imagine,
Yeah.
and you can play with that. And the more that you open up to the possibilities, the more play comes in, the more words, the more infrastructure of different portals of reality can open up to you. So I say infrastructure like that because it's like creating another world for yourself.
Which takes practice. Some
Yeah.
people are better at it than others. I wanted to bring it back to the family courts thing as well, because when somebody achieves just the practice of imagining a wildly
Mm-hmm.
joyful life, if you can
Mm-hmm.
achieve that in your practices, whatever they are and how they're done, Um, I wanted to say, just bring it back because it actually doesn't matter, does it? If you win in family courts or if you're perceived to lose, if the
Mm-hmm.
judge has said the other person gets what they want, you can still
Yeah.
have exactly your wildly joyful life. It can still happen,
Yeah.
even though the court
Yeah.
case is like manifested to appease the other person. You can still get to do what you want, live how you want. You really can. It moves through. It even moves through this. Bureaucratic, you know, academic sort of legal structures, that what you're talking about is this ethereal web that runs through everything. So your creation, it doesn't matter win or lose. It's getting out of that, unplugging from that
Yes.
matrix. I've seen
Yeah.
it firsthand with people that I've worked with, and I know that you've seen it too, but they've won in court
Mm.
or they haven't won, but they've still managed to get actually live in reality this wildly joyful life, not just in their practices.
Mm. Yeah, no, it does. It's well, the thing is, we live the system that was created actually, collective consciously or by whoever they say, is about winning and losing and competing.
Mm.
And you know, in a world that I see of collaboration and unity, it's a world of finding, unifying yourself with that things that, life that we call our beauty, the things in the world that we love and love us back. Because the love from anything, you can only be that love that you want to be receiving.
Mhm.
And with all of it, with your children, with your partners, with your friends, with your colleagues, with your people you work with, your clients, when you're being that person, then that's the people that are going to come into your field. And when you grow that energy, and it takes time, it just doesn't have, some people it's faster than others, but it's a, I think it's a timeless learning. And it's, for me, it's like the ability to be able to just learn what it is to love who you are,
That's right there, you've
to
nailed
feel
it.
good in your skin.
Yeah, yeah. And it's not just a philosophy, it's a daily reality. And I was just listening, we've got like a minute and a half left before our call gets cut. But I was watching Diary of a CEO with Stephen Bartlett, and his
Yeah.
guest was somebody called Mo Gawdat. I've just got it on my screen now. And he's one of the creators, the original creators of AI, but he's basically challenging Stephen Bartlett. They talk about it a lot, the contrast and of
Mm.
competitive philosophy and the reality of that capitalist world. And he really simplifies it. He says, and love. And Stephen's trying
Mm.
to describe it, and Moses goes, yeah, that's just love. It's just really simple. It's love and joy. That's the opposite of competition, struggle, and all the rest of it. Anyway, to sum up that on love, that's really what you summarize in your existence to me and everybody that's worked with you. So please come back next time, Nancy. I'm going to share all your links below for everybody. It's been a real pleasure, and I hope to come visit you in Bosnia soon.